Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. We just keep whipping these out as fast as we're reviewing them here. And today's band is none other than the Eagles. So we're going to get right into it. We brought in special guests all the way down from Naples, Florida, Mr. Jim Baase. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Late afternoon.
Glad to be here. Yeah, now that I finally got my internet reset, it's taken forever. But I'm cooled down now. It's a hot day.
Yeah. How hot is it down there today?
Oh, it's probably like 92 degrees. Well, my watch is stuck on Celsius. It's saying 32. I don't know what that is. I don't know why my watch is stuck on Celsius.
What are you up in Canada?
Canada. Yeah, no, you hoser. But anyway, yeah, we're doing the Eagles here. This was a cool one because I haven't, you hear the Eagles every once in a while on the radio, Hotel California, and then the soft rock stuff here and there. But it's like I haven't listened to the Eagles in a long time. And one of the things I love about doing these is you dive deep into some albums you never even knew about. All I know are the hits. And these both greatest hits albums for the Eagles were huge successes, and I thought that's really all you needed. But I found different. There's some good gems hidden in there, and we're going to uncover them.
Yeah. The cool thing, like you mentioned, that 71 to 75 greatest hits. You want to talk about unbelievable? It was number one, obviously. It's got a stunning 38 times platinum. That is just unheard of, because if you actually look at the number of regular album sales from those albums from 71 to 75, you'd be going, how in the heck is that greatest hits that much better? Because these other albums of theirs hardly, the early albums really didn't sell quite a lot. But, I guess that's what kind of put these guys and propelled them into over the top there, was the fact that every album did have a good handful of songs that really got a lot of airplay, and they really, they pulled those songs, put them all on that greatest hits 71 to 75, and man, that's unbelievable. 38 times platinum for a greatest hits album. That's just probably that's got to be the highest greatest hits album, I would have to say, that I've ever heard.
Oh, it is. I've heard that is one of the highest greatest selling albums of all time, and the fact that it's a greatest hits is unusual. But yeah, that's always been up there, but I didn't know it was 32.
38, yeah, that's insane.
38. Whoa.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big
so
one.
Obviously, Eagles had quite a career. They had 5 number one songs, 2 on the same album, which we'll get into. They had 4 number one albums all in a row. 5 other songs made the top 10. 17 top 40 songs altogether. That doesn't really seem like a lot, but you got to look. They've only made 7 albums too, and then they had that long break from after the long run all the way until they finally released The Long Road Out of Eden, which came out in 2007. So yeah, they went a long way without making an album. And then by then the charts all changed. They kind of were more, the kind of music they were making, they were more geared towards the AC contemporary, because the rock charts, the way the rock charts went, it seems like after 2000, it's like everything changed with the songs that would normally land on somebody on the regular top 40 are only going on to a contemporary or a rock one or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's really weird
all
how
the older artists, they kind of got stuck with that adult contemporary soft rock kind of thing, and it's kind of weird. Things really did change back then. Now I don't know. I don't even know the radio anymore. I don't barely listen to it.
Well, most people don't. That's the thing. Most people either listen to satellite radio or they got their iPods.
Yeah, you can listen to whatever you want.
Yeah, when you want, and you can hold so much music on. You're not like when you had a CD or a cassette, you were kind of limited to whatever you had in your hands there. But totally different ball game now. But yeah, so let's dig right in. We kind of gave a rundown on these guys. Of course, the main guys, Don Henley, Glenn Frey.
They're a corporation. Yeah, they run the business there, so they've got it going. And this, I guess I don't know whether they needed more money or they just had a bunch of songs they wanted to do. This is a double album. It's my number 7 is the Long Road Out of Eden. And it's a pretty good one, but I mean, it's a long, it's 20 songs on here. I'm kind of wondering if maybe it would have been better just to leave it as a single album. I don't know. Maybe they thought, let's get out all our material while we can. But yeah, there's some good ones on here. You know, one of the songs, old JD Souther was always helping them write songs, and one of the good ones I liked was How Long. It sounded like a good class on the first disc. Is kind of sounds like kind of the old classic Eagles, you know, right away when you hear that one. And another one, No More Cloudy Days. I like that. That's a beautiful Glenn Frey song with some nice saxophone in the end. And it kind of dates these guys. You know, they are getting old. They are old men. And a couple of them aren't even alive anymore. And it's you can tell, you can see it in the music. It has gotten more contemporary, and there's a lot of that on this album. But overall, it's pretty good. But it's all the previous albums are, you can't stack up to those. So it's obvious this one would be number 7 for me.
Yeah, it's actually my number 7 too. So that's good. We could get this album right out of the way here.
Yeah.
It's a little long-winded, definitely a lot long-winded. Like you said, 20
Yeah.
songs. Some of the highlights I felt were "It's Your World Now." I really love the one with Timothy B. Schmidt that I think it's him and Henley share the vocals on.
Mm-hmm.
What Do I Do With My Heart was once one that stood out. Busy Being Fabulous. That was one of them that made it on the radio. Guilty of the Crime, a Joe Walsh song. Seemed like both the Joe Walsh songs were pretty good on here. Last Good Time in Town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think they went a little too rootsy Americana country type style, which kind of is reminiscent of their first 2 albums. But it just in this day and age, and you've already had albums like One of These Nights, Hotel California, The Long Run. You know, it would have been nice to see a little bit more rock and roll in the mix per se for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you
Yeah.
said,
I
if you
was looking
trim the
for that here.
yeah, if you trim the fat out, you know, you probably would have. I would say the album would probably be a little bit better if you cut it down to the 10 best songs for sure, because that would weed out some of those type tracks that we mentioned there. But you know, it's definitely far from an embarrassing album. You know what I mean? It's a solid album. It's just a little too long, and it definitely, you know, it could have used a couple more hits, I think. And these guys were capable of that, but for some reason, this time around, we just didn't get any, really.
Yeah. Yep. So onward to the next one.
Yep. Yes.
And my number 6 is a concept album. I drummed up out of the mind of Glenn Frey. I think he wanted to do something different. And they were always hanging around with Jackson Browne. I guess the story goes that Jackson Browne had a book about the old Western outlaws and stuff, anti-heroes, and that's what they wanted to do, a concept album about that. And then two of the characters in this book that are real outlaws were Bill Dalton and Bill Doolin. And I never knew that those were 2 guys. They were the Doolin Dalton gang. And there's Doolin Dalton, a couple songs on here. And I always thought Doolin Dalton was just some guy, but it's actually the Doolin Dalton gang that were real outlaws. And that's what this is, their concept. They tried to do a Western concept album out of this, but this got some good ones. I mean, Desperado is like one of the greatest songs you know, they've ever done. You know, that one's on there. Tequila Sunrise. Strangely enough, Desperado wasn't even a single. They had Outlaw Man, which charted, its best charting was 59, and Tequila Sunrise was 64. And then you've got Desperado on there. That was never a single, and that's my favorite on the whole album. That one carries it pretty well. But it's a good one. But there's a lot of you know, a lot of country stuff still mixed in there with that. There's one song that's kind of cool, a gem. It's called Out of Control. Actually, the beginning opening sounds like a Kiss song. So I think it's a Glenn Frey song. Check that one out. That's kind of interesting. So Desperado is my number 6.
All right. My number 6 is going to be a little bit different as I veered off here. I'm going with the first album. The self-titled debut came out in the great year of 1972. Only reached number 22, but oddly enough, had the song had some singles on it, and it only made platinum. That's weird. After all this time and age, you'd figure that this album would have at least been 3 or 4 times platinum, but for some reason, nobody buys it.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's some songs on there I like, but
Yeah, I
um,
mean, their first album, they had 3 top 20 songs that made the top 22.
I
You
mean,
know,
it was well received by the critics too, from what I heard when
yeah,
I was reading, doing
mhm.
some stuff on it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of surprised it just didn't chart any better, and and it hasn't gone any higher than platinum with those 3 solid songs. Excuse me.
But in 1972, there was probably some different competition going on there. I don't know. It's hard to say when they were getting off the ground.
Yeah, so on this album, I would say, obviously, "Take It Easy" is the one probably is the best song on the album, and then "Peaceful Easy Feeling" is probably the one that would be highly recommended besides that one. So for me, that is my take on my number 6, Eagles self-titled.
All right. And my going on to the next one, my number 5 is the one you just talked about, the Eagles self-titled one. And yeah, it's weird. I don't know how that one got ahead of Desperado. Um, you know what? They're tied, but I chose I chose the Eagles one because I love Take It Easy. That's one of those Jackson Brown ones. He was involved with that. Uh, Nightingale is one of those hidden gems. I listened to that one. I kind of like that one's kind of fun. It's written by Jackson Brown. Kind of reminds me of the Brady Bunch. I don't know why.
Huh.
Check that one out. Maybe you'll see what's going on there. There's some banjo in there and it's early stuff. And it seems like all the guys, there was Bernie Ledden and he had a lot of banjo and I think of maybe some of the slide guitar or the dobro or something like that. And they all seem to kind of have it wasn't cohesive, they all had their own talents and there was a lot of different stuff going on this album. I noticed as well. And another good one I liked, which I'd never really heard before, is Trying, written by Randy Meisner, but it was the Fry song. It was singing it. That one and Take It Easy are my favorites on that album. My number 5.
All right, and my number 5 was good. What your previous one was, so we just kind of switched the two around. I got Desperado in at number 5. Oddly enough, Desperado only made number 41 on the charts, but it sold twice as many copies as the first album. Maybe the reason why is because the first album had all those 3 big songs on there, and people wanted to give it a shot. But like you said, Desperados obviously is the best song on the album. There's no competition any further than that. And then if I pick the secondary song, which I would recommend, obviously I'd say you could pick your choice: Tequila Sunrise or Saturday Night. Those are two of the songs that were definitely highlights on the album. Um, obviously that one came out in I believe 1973. Yeah, 73 around with Desperado. It goes back quite some years there. But for a second album, it had a handful of songs, got some airplay, and it set them up, for their third album. So that's it wasn't as strong per se as one would have hoped, but you could see how going through those first couple of albums before they really took off was kind of like the stepping stone, which helped laid the foundation to their
Mm-hmm.
success. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's it from yeah.
Okay.
That's it for me on
Where are
5.
we on to?
We're going to the top four.
The top four here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some good ones here. Well, my number 4 is One of These Nights. Came out June 10th, 1975. That's around the time what Rocks, Aerosmith's Rocks came out. Isn't that around the time?
Yeah.
That's what their competition.
Well, yeah, I think actually Toys is 75. Rocks came out in 76, but I mean, it probably came out right in the middle of both of them. That's for sure. Yeah, June of 75. Yeah.
Yeah. And with this album, we had Joe Walsh replaced Bernie Ledden. He went on down the road, and you can see some of the Joe Walsh, his touches in there as well.
Actually, Walsh didn't come in until the 76.
Oh wait, no, that's not the one. The Felder. This is the one Felder started on. But all he did was a little bit of the slide guitar. Yeah, Walsh joined him right after that. One of the good ones, one of the standouts, of course, it's got Lion Eyes, Take It to the Limit, and then One of These Nights was the number 1.
Yep.
I think on the charts.
Mm-hmm.
That we got a 1, a 2, and a number 4 on this album. So there's some good stuff on here. But one of the gems is a song called Visions. It kind of reminds me of the Doobie Brothers. It's a Henley Felder composition here, writing together, and then all 4 of them did vocals on it. But check out that one, Visions. That's one of my favorite ones on this one. Leaving out the top, the top singles that go in there. So One of These Nights is my number 4.
Yep, and that's exactly what I got at number 4 too. I can't really add anything as far as best track. I would have to say, would you pick One of These Nights as your favorite, or did you pick a different one?
I like Take It to the Limit. It's just something about the lyrics, the way the wording is. Yeah. But the one thing I notice is the voices, the singing voices on these guys. I mean, think about how unique they are. Henley and Glenn Frey and then Timothy B. Schmidt. I mean, listen to that. I mean, the high pitch. Sometimes I thought some of his songs I thought it was a woman singing, but it's cool. It's just like very distinct voices. Of course, Joel Walsh.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just think of the voices. That's one of the things I look at as a musical instrument is listening to their voices, and that's one of the things I loved about the Eagles. Is just when you hear that Henley and Frey doing those harmonies together. That's gold there. Yeah. Okay, where did I get lost, or are we? Where are we?
Yeah.
My number 4, One of These Nights.
Yeah, we're on my number 4 here, which is the same as your number 4. Now, yeah, it was cool. So you picked the Take It to the Limit, which was actually Randy Meisner. He didn't do it. He did a couple songs.
Was he the one singing that?
Yeah, that's his famous song.
Oh,
oddly
right.
enough,
Yeah. That is I don't know if I ever thought about it. Maybe I just assumed it was Glenn Frey.
No, yeah, it's Randy. He sang a couple songs on the other 3 earlier previous albums, but this is pretty much his last hurrah on this album. I think he was still on Hotel California, but the problem is by the time they already had everything who was singing on all the other ones. Plus I don't think Meisner really submitted much for that album. But another one to check out, One of These Nights. I mean, this is an album where the singles really kind of make the rest of the album. The rest of the tracks they don't really have much that stands out other than the signals. But I would go with After the Thrill Is Gone. That song is cool. I really like that one. Hollywood Waltz
I
is
like
actually
that acoustic guitar.
Hollywood Waltz is actually another one that I never really gave it much before, but after listening to it a couple times, I go, man, this song is definitely cool. It was one of those songs that kind of stood out, something you don't hear every day, obviously. So those songs were the ones I would recommend. Give them a listen. See what you guys think if you like them out there.
I like Hollywood Waltz too.
Yeah, so that's 4, number 4. So that's going to leave us the top 3. And let's see what your number 3 is.
I mean, this is kind of obvious. The only one I've got left is On the Border. That's number 3. Came out in March of 1974. It made the number 17 on the album charts. I think I've got a note here on that. Lots of collaborations, early on. The song James Dean is on there. That was a single. That was originally supposed to be on Desperado with the anti-hero, the original concept. But but they decided to drop the James Dean song and just go with a Western theme. So the James Dean song made it on their next album after that, On the Border. A hidden one, I mean, some of the best ones. I like James Dean. Best of My Love is a real good one. And Already Gone, that's just one of my favorite Eagles songs. I mean, that's a great one. Where was I? Oh, a deep one, a deep track here. You never Cry Like a Lover. That's a pretty good one there. Of course, that's another one. It's got J.D. Souther as writing. Him and Jackson Browne, they always seem to have some good ones when they're together, when they're writing. But yep, that's what I got. On the Border for number 3.
Yep, that's what mine is as well. And like you said, interestingly enough, James Dean was actually written with Henley Frey, J.D. Souther, and Jackson Browne. So that's pretty interesting that they all collaborated on that particular song. And so you knew that was going to pop up on an album eventually, like you said.
Yeah.
And now this is the album where Felder kind of joined near the end. So he only plays lead guitar on Already Gone and slide guitar on Good Day in Hell. So, but at least he made it onto the album. And then obviously from there, he was a very integral part of this band. And, for On the Border, I think a lot of people might be surprised that we picked this one over One of These Nights, since One of These Nights sold, way more, and it's more popular and all that kind of stuff. But I think the reason why I like this album a little bit better is because the other songs that complemented regular singles, like you mentioned, You Never Cry Like a Lover. And to me, the one that really stands out that I really like, that I never really paid much attention to before, is Old 55. That is a great song. It's a Tom Waits song that they listened to, and Fry loved it so much he said, we got to do this one. And man, what a great song.
Yeah, that's one I discovered here. I never heard it before. Yeah.
And obviously they had their first number 1 on this album with Best of My Love. But I like Already Gone maybe a smidge better. So Already Gone, and I would say Old 55 is my deep cut that I definitely really enjoy. But there really isn't too much on here that I don't like, really. I mean, even the song On the Border, Midnight Flyer, there's some good stuff on here. And I think this album really, the radio didn't do it justice, because you heard Already Gone, you heard The Best of My Love, but pretty much other than that, maybe James Dean once in a while.
Very rarely, yeah.
But yeah, you never really heard anything other than those ones, though, which is kind of surprising, because this album definitely was worthy. It was 1974, but it was definitely worthy of more spins on the old turntable for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I mean, when I looked at them, like, I only know the three singles, but yeah, that You Never Cry Like a Lover. I mean, when I first heard it, I'm like, what is this, a Motown song? And it kind of had that flavor in it. That's one of those things. So definitely people check that one out, because it's interesting. I like that.
Oh yeah. All right, so that brings us down to number 2.
My number 2. So ours was the same. I mean, it's kind of hard with only 7 albums and so distinctly, masterful in so many ways. They had to be in this order. So I think we're right on the same page here. This one here was their 6th album. and I don't think they were getting along. And I think it was Don Felder, from what I heard. He was a troublemaker in the Eagles. But the Long Run is my number 2. And I was thinking, boy, because I had the Long Run album for years. I'd always listened to it all the way through, and I knew this one really well. I'm thinking, wow, is this one actually going to beat Hotel California?
Me too.
Because nothing can beat that. And I came pretty close.
Yes, it came one song.
Very, very close. This one's a great one. I mean, of course, the Long Run. I can't tell you why with Timothy B. Schmidt, those vocals are just so smooth. In the City, Joe Walsh. This is that's one thing I was thinking last night when I was listening to all these just one more time. This is the coolest of the Eagles albums, if not one of the coolest albums out there. I mean, just listen to In the City, and I can't tell you why. The Long Run, Heartache Tonight, of course, just they got won a Grammy for that one. Those Shoes, King of Hollywood is one of the deep tracks. That's one of those. Just the sound of that is just cool. You want to turn that up and drive through the city streets at night. Listen to that one. But yeah, that's and a really fun one. I mean, this has even got Jimmy Buffett thrown in his vocals in it. And the Greeks don't want no freaks. I didn't even know that. I think and then Bob Seger he was writing on Heartache Tonight, which I didn't know. He's uncredited. He's actually got some vocals in there from what I read on Wikipedia. But yeah, this is a great one.
Yeah, so my number 2 as well.
Of course.
Long Run, another number 1 album. At the time, that would made it 3 in a row for them at number 1. 7 times platinum. You can't really argue with an album that sells that many copies. And I like the variety of the music on this album. It's and this is their. I don't know. I just love the way the album has a different type of flow to it. Especially right in the middle, you throw King of Hollywood in there, like you said, with that weird vocal between Henley and Frey.
Yeah, that sort of ends side 1. If you've got a vinyl record on, you got to kind of look at that. The way the placement of it is cool. It's like that ends out that side, and then you got to get up and you turn it over, and then it's Heartache Tonight. It's like, whoa. If you're into doing the albums, that's what comes after it. And those are ingrained in your head forever if you listen to them all the way through like that. In 1979, it just seemed, disco was huge then, and this was sort of like just still a cool album to be out in a time where things were a little strange with that disco going on. But yeah, this is definitely a good one here. Number 2.
Yep, and I also like a couple of the other deep tracks here. To tell you the truth, this one doesn't have a bad song on it.
No,
as does not the next one either. I mean, all these other albums at least had a couple songs that I could have just wished them under the old carpet, the old Peter D. Cheater style, and gotten rid of them. But I can't really, to tell you like the worst song on this album, it's almost impossible. I just love to just go Strangler, that riff. Teenage Jail, another classic. That's just a great song. Greeks Don't Want No Freaks. I mean, weird ass title, but if you listen to it, it really gets you, kind of reminds you of a Bob Seger song in a way.
Yeah, I don't know whether he was around at the time. There's no writing credit, but it's Jimmy Buffett was there.
Yep, well, it could have been an influence there. Actually, I remember when I Can't Tell You Why was released as a single. I thought that was kind of, compared to the rest of the album, that's like the slowest and the, well,
I know now that I'm older, I love it. But
right. I'm not going to bash it. But at the time when I was younger, I don't think like you mentioned, I just don't think I appreciated I Can't Tell You Why for as much as I should have. But over the years, obviously that song is a really just a phenomenal song. Timothy B. Schmidt does that song like nobody else could, really.
Yeah, he's got one of the smoothest voices around. Yeah.
And then other than I was shocked as heck that they didn't play the long run on this most recent tour. I don't understand it. It's probably one of their biggest songs, and yet for some reason
Really?
they skipped it. They did not play the long run. I was like ready to go up on stage and grab Don Henley and say, "What are you doing?" But
They'd put you in teenage jail if you did that.
yeah. But I will say the album Closer is probably the best deep cut on the album. You never really heard it a lot, but the Sad Cafe is just classic Eagles.
Who wrote that one? Can you guess?
Yeah, there's no
Souther.
guessing.
Well, it was with Henley,
with Walsh too.
but he was one. Yep. What was Walsh involved with that? I've got Souther on here because it's like I noticed the pattern. Whenever he's got a writing credit, it's one of the great ones. Yep. Yeah, two classic albums, and of course, if we're ready, we'll go on to number one, which is obvious. It's Hotel California. One thing I've got a note up here. One thing that's cool. It's like the Eagles. These two albums, were number 5 and 6, and I really feel, how like the Eagles got better they had some really great hits, but with these two albums, as an album as a whole, and it's definite, it's obvious. It's number 1 and number 2. They got better as they got older, and in some bands they kind of started running out of talent. You notice, and it's kind of weird. But the Eagles, these are two really great ones. And one of the interesting things about Hotel California is I never knew the cover of the album, which is so cool, is the Beverly Hills Hotel, which I finally 5 years ago actually did get to see it in person when we went out to Hollywood and out to California. We were in Hollywood and all that. But Hotel California, New Kid in Town, Life in the Fast Lane, just classics. And one of my favorite deep cuts is just a beautiful song to finish out the album, is The Last Resort. And I don't know, you may have something to say about that one too. Just a beautiful song. I've always loved that one. But yeah, Hotel California. I mean, I'm surprised this one didn't make my my top albums of all time. But it just missed it by that much. That would have been the next one, I think, on there, if I remember correctly. But just a classic. It was like a no-brainer. That was going to be number 1. Although the long run, I was thinking maybe it got close.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously the album was another number 1, followed in the footsteps of One of These Nights. Hotel California, double diamond, 26 times platinum, so it's almost that triple diamond. I mean, this is what was selling their latest tour. It was the Hotel California tour. They were playing the whole album from beginning to end. And then when they got done doing that, they took a break and went out and did a bunch of their greatest hits. And, it was this album was the album that put them really over the top. Definitely over the top. One of These Nights got them, up there. And then this one just pushed them right up even higher. No doubt about it. So Hotel California, I would say my favorite song on the album is actually New Kid in Town. I just love Glenn Frey. That's a great song. Both of them obviously hit number 1, so it's like picking apples and oranges. You know what I mean? I know Felder really came up with that phenomenal riff in Hotel California, but for some reason, New Kid in Town has always been the song that really, I love them both, but if I had to pick one over the other, I'm gonna have to. At least today, it's New Kid in Town, and then like you said, The Last Resort, another great song. I don't think a lot of times when these guys get their when they're writing these songs and talking to their band members about the process and stuff, a lot of times just the guys who write the music and the lyrics get the credit for it. But I know I interviewed Don Felder and he was telling me about this song. And it was like he was right there and telling, like he knew all about it and everything. I guess they just didn't give him any writing credit, but he was definitely involved in the process. He was going all through about what it was about, and what it how where they were when they were writing it. Even he went right down to the nitty gritty there. And this is just one of those great songs, The Last Resort, and it's a great way to end the album, just like the Sad Cafe does the same on the long run.
Hmm.
Um, and then this album, another album with no weak tracks. Not sure why they needed a Wasted Time reprise, but I kind of just considered that part of Wasted Time since it was all kind of together there. And that
that's what
didn't
I
make
did.
sense. Yeah,
It should have just been the end of the song. Just it's beautiful, but
yeah,
don't make it a track on its own. I think I may have calculated that as not a part. That's just part of Wasted Time.
yeah.
I don't know whether it would have made a difference the other way around.
Oh, it probably would have
Hotel
put the long
California
run.
probably the long run might have been, but no, it's yeah, that one. It's funny how they do that. I think they just got to make sure they have the numbers for the record company.
I don't know. I don't. You got a point. That could be another whole episode here in itself.
Yeah, there's always that part of it that we don't even hear about. Sometimes
Yeah.
people like Don Felder, they spill all of the gems. Did you ever hear the one? Did you ever see the Hotel California? Of course you have the Hotel California video. It's live, and when Walsh and Felder are doing their guitar solos back and forth, you remember the video? They're there. Felder's got the two, the two necked guitar, the 12 string, and Walsh is doing his, and they're doing that ending riff, and Don Felder says something to Walsh, and he laughs. And I always thought, I was always watching, what are they, they're just having a good time. Well, when he was on the Howard Stern show, he kind of gave us the clue. He said, he told Walsh, he says, "You're showing," which would meant, your coke was showing, the powder on your nose. Back in the day, they'd go back on for a break and they do coke and then they'd come back on stage. He was kidding, of course. He wasn't, but that was just a thing Felder threw at him during one of the most, as far as music videos. I mean, I used to watch that video over and over again. Just go the whole thing. And that when that guitar solo came out, it's like, that's what Felder was doing. He's just telling him, "Hey, by the way, Joe, you got coke on your nose while you're doing one of the greatest guitar solos of all time in rock and roll." But anyway, I thought I'd throw that one in there. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, Felder, he's something else.
Yeah,
You've seen him in concert, right? He's
oh
kind
yeah.
of gone around. Yeah,
Oh yeah. I think Felder kind of gets a bad rap. I mean, he tried to be as honest as he could with that book. And I could see everything in that book just being just the way he's telling it. I really can. I mean, I don't know 100%, who knows, but it seems like to me that these guys, Frey and Henley, were definitely controlling to the point,
That's what he always said.
Yep.
He said they were the CEOs and he was just the hired hand.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but but yeah, Felder, just one quick point to wrap it up before we wrap it up here is he goes out and plays a lot of solo shows now. And the cool thing was a couple years back, can't remember the year anymore. It might have been 14 or 16, somewhere around there, 2000. He did a tour with Foreigner and Styx.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it was awesome because he would bring Tommy Shaw up on stage for Hotel California. What a awesome.
Oh wow, I'd love to see that.
Awesome. Yeah, there's probably footage around of it, but
there might be something on YouTube.
Yep. Yeah, but that was just killer seeing the two of them doing that solo part there at the end. It was just great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for that.
Yeah. So there you have it, though, the Eagles, and this is probably the closest one that I've had with somebody where we pretty much matched up album right down. The only difference was a early album. We just had Desperado and
we switched Desperado on Yeah.
The debut, yeah. Other than that, we were right on spot on. So, I mean, that's not always something easy to do. I mean, obviously, I think most people would pick the long run Hotel California as the top two, but the other ones could have gone a couple different ways. But for us, they stayed. We stayed pretty much right intact here.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite bands of all time. They're in the top 10. It's just obvious. I mean, it's just the time we grew up. I mean, it was just, the early stuff, I wasn't into music yet, but right around the time Hotel California came out, I was listening to the radio. I was hearing that stuff. So that was just iconic,
Mm-hmm.
the 70s, the music of the 70s. I always seem to be there.
All right, so that puts a wrap on another edition here of ranking the albums. This special edition was the Eagles. Stay tuned for many more ranking the albums editions. We got a bunch coming up down the road with different people giving us, giving you guys out there in the music world their take on the albums. And that's what it's all about. I like talking albums with people because somebody might say, hey, do you know this song? Sometimes it brings out more of a song that you might not be that familiar with or might not have given a fair listen to, and it really opens up your eyes to more music. And that's the good thing, because it's not like nowadays where somebody's going to make a song that sounds like it belongs in 1970s. So at least we have all these old recordings to go back and listen to and cherish, they usually mean even more to people.
No, and it's fun to go back and listen to them after it's been a long time, because these are such classics. You heard them on the radio so many times, but now when I go back, it's like, whoa, I remember this is the greatest. And as you get older, we're old men now, and this is some of the songs that were too slow for me are some of my favorite now. Sad Cafe and the Timothy B. Schmidt songs, and I can't tell you why. I dig those, man. Turn off the lights and just put on the record.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Eagles definitely had a great career, even though they took a lot of years off. And, they all went on to successful solo careers too. I mean, everybody that was in the band pretty much, at least Frey, Henley, Walsh, obviously Walsh had a solo career before he joined the Eagles, but, Timothy V. Schmidt has a solo career, not as big as everybody else, but he's made a lot of cool albums out there. That's another thing, people can try to dig up some of his solo albums if you like his stuff on these Eagles albums, because he's wrote a lot of cool songs that unfortunately just never got out there on the radio. But definitely he has made a lot of great music in his career. He used to be in Poco for a while. So there's these guys all knew each other. That's how were able to come into these bands. Walsh was recruited. And it seems like once Joe Walsh was recruited, that's when this band really, really took off. He was like the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, it was definitely, it kind of brought everything all together. Because just that group for Hotel California and Long Run, it's just so classic. Joe Walsh is definitely one of the Eagles, even though he had so many other bands he was part of. Definitely, the Eagles, he's proud to be part of that. And now he's Ringo Starr's brother-in-law. The life doesn't get any better. Life's been good and still good for him. Good old Joe Walsh.
Well, till next time, we're signing
off.
All right. See ya. Bye, sign.
Have a good one.